Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Bells, your exclusive podcast for all things Women's Wrestling Army. If you're joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. If you're joining us on our new home of Pro Wrestling TV, thank you so much. My name's Alyssa Marino. I am one of your commentators for Women's Wrestling Army, and I am joined, as always, by podcasting veteran, my friend, Will Washington. How you doing, Will?
Oh, yeah, we could talk about the friend thing, and you can introduce yourself as Alyssa Marino. But first off, I have to say, and I tweeted this the other day, I am shocked to have learned. She calls herself just commentator. You know, she did NXT. There's so many things that she did, and yet just casually leaves out. And I love how she mentions it so casually too. Yeah, because we had this conversation, true story, that I was talking with Alyssa, and she's just like, yeah, and I'm also a professionally trained opera singer, and among other things, and this has been the most mind-blowing information I could have possibly gotten in the last week. I've been stuck on this for the last week. You can ask her. I've been stuck on this for an entire week now.
Yeah. Professionally
trained opera singer, Alyssa Marino. At some point, I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but at some point, the people have to hear this. Because I've heard it. It's something.
I thank you, Will, and that's how we grow a friendship. We learn more about each other, and I do appreciate you asking, and I was happy I got to share that with you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate getting that little bit. Yeah.
But speaking of all things that we discuss, and we do, of course, always gap from time to time. But one of the things I love getting from you is my scoop. I love to hear about the things that are going on. We have some news topics that we like to touch on. So are you going to kick us off with some of the goings on in the news?
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure the world has heard by now because she's made a couple of appearances and had a couple of matches. But the one and only, the legendary Madison Rayne is now the head coach of the women's division in All Elite Wrestling. She was announced in a press release to have signed with AEW about 2 weeks ago, and it was announced that she would also be an in-ring competitor. She made her debut in Columbus, Ohio at that week's AEW Dark Elevation. She then competed in what event was that? That was Grand Rapids, Michigan. She competed at AEW Rampage, had a one-on-one match, and then got to challenge for the TBS Championship live in Minneapolis, Minnesota at the Target Center, where she challenged Jade Cargill, went one-on-one, came up short. She's still the one of the 36 in Jade Cargill's 36-0, but a phenomenal first showing for the legendary Madison Rayne, somebody who's been just a legendary force in pro wrestling. She made a name for herself in Impact. She was in Ring of Honor. She's wrestled all around the globe, and now she gets to be on the national stage in All Elite Wrestling. It's a very cool thing. I'm very happy for Madison Rayne.
And you can hear how happy and with such passion that you discuss it, because a fun thing I learned about you is that you have a remarkable memory for statistics, for event happenings. It is a steel trap up there, my friends, for Will Washington.
All those events I just gave and the cities they took place in, I don't have that written down anywhere. I just knew that.
Genius. I appreciate it. Thank you for keeping us on track with all of the goings on. Elsewhere in the news, it was shared that we will not be seeing another Empower returning this year, but NWA announced that we will be seeing the second annual Burke Invitational Gauntlet match. It'll be taking place at NWA 74. The winner will face off against the NWA World Women's Champion on the second night of the event. So far, we have heard names that we are familiar with here at WWA. Max the Impaler, Missa Kate, and Tootie Lynn Ramsey all have been in the discussion for the Invitational Gauntlet. But will they go on to face the current reigning NWA World Women's Champion, Camille, or her challenger on night one, La Huera Loca herself, Taya Valkyrie? And now it was discussed that we'll be seeing a street fight for the NWA World Women's Tag Team Championship. It's also scheduled for NWA 74 with the former champs, the Hex, challenging Pretty Empowered. Lots going on there.
Yeah, I will say the news of not having another Empower, because I thought that was one of the best events of last year. A little bit disappointing, but I will say that NWA 74 has a card that is shaping up to be pretty darn good, especially on the women's side of things. And I look forward to seeing what all of these matches have to offer.
No doubt about it.
And, one person in particular here had a very eventful weekend. But The team of VXT, Chelsea Green and Deonna Purrazzo, were victorious at Emergence, becoming the new Knockouts World Tag Team Champions. Chelsea Green, of course, had a very eventful weekend. If you've seen any of the videos or pictures or got to watch it, you were in for one of the greatest events in the history of wrestling weddings. But victorious with the Knockouts Tag Team titles. That's fantastic.
Absolutely fantastic. And honestly, for two competitors that are so strong, so entertaining, and such good friends, to see them being able to shine as now Knockouts World Tag Team Champions is incredible. And yes, we do love a pro wrestling wedding. Nothing like it. What a spectacle. Yeah, if you're seeing any of those clips on social media, it is certainly wild. But speaking of one half of VXT in Deonna Purrazzo, we did actually just this past week see a technical masterpiece between her and Trish Adora. Things got a little dicey, toward the end. I know that Trish Adora had some very strong words about this, and I hope that it is not the last that we will see, because although it was, it wasn't the decisive win that I think everyone was hoping for. So we will definitely be hoping to see more of that down the line. We also saw the debut of Lufisto and the Gladiator of the Geeks, Riley Shepard, this past week. And then coming up on our newest episode of WWA, which is hitting Pro Wrestling TV tonight, we have Janai Kai against the debuting Greatest Damn Woman, Gia Scott, Lainey Luck and Cosmic, and the female with attitude Maserati against the Little Blue Dragon, Tootie Lynn Ramsey. So, we're all about everything that has to do with Women's Wrestling Army. And I am so excited to bring on our guest for today's episode, who recently made her WWA debut, the submission sniper, Jordan Blade.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Hello,
so
my
excited
friend.
to finally get to talk to Jordan Blade.
I'm so excited to be here. Hello, all my love to you guys.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I just got off work, so we're decompressing, and then we're gonna get a little. I'm gonna get an energy drink later. I'm gonna hit the gym later, which is like one of the 3 things that I typically do. So I'm excited for that.
What's part of your decompression routine?
Honestly, probably petting my cats. So I came home and I had about a half hour before we started this. And so I was like, so I have 3 cats and a dog. So the animals in this house outnumber the humans. So I was like, hi, Juliet. Juliet's my black cat. I call her my little burnt potato, because that's what she looks like. So I'm just hanging out with my cat, just kind of decompressing from the day, and then getting ready to see you guys.
Oh, and we're so glad to see you. And honestly, as you're taking us through the rundown, I feel like one thing for you is that the hustle never stops. Maybe there's a little decompression, but it's just nonstop, go, go, go with Jordan Blade. So I was really curious to kind of dig into your history of how you got started with WWA. I know that WWA has been all about partnering with different promotions, and you were brought to us courtesy of Battle Club Pro. So can you tell us about kind of how that came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So Joachim is great. He is the owner, promoter for Battle Club Pro. And I remember I had made my debut for Battle Club maybe like a few weeks before, I made my debut for WWA, and he came up to me and was like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And I was like, I have this weekend free. And then, he was like, hey, like, do you want to come to WWA? And I was like, absolutely. And so I was already on cloud 9 because I was, again, making my debut for Battle Club Pro. It's going to be in a tag team match. But then, it was supposed to be Willow versus Big Swole. I think Willow got injured for a little bit. And so Joachim called me, and I remember I was driving with Trish Adora through the mean streets of Brooklyn, New York. And I'm like, I see him calling, and I said, Trish, I cannot answer this right now. I just see what he wants. I can't answer this right now. I'm driving through New York. I have high anxiety right now. And Trish was like, he wants you to wrestle Swole. And I said, what? I said, excuse me? So I'm like high anxiety, but I'm also like very excited, but I'm also like more high anxiety because I'm getting to wrestle Swole. And so I'm in the ring, and I'm stretching, and I'm getting mentally prepared for wrestling Big Swole. And then he comes over and asks me that, and I'm like, I could not have been happier that day.
Oh my God, that is amazing. You are also so credited. You were credited fighting out of Mongrel BJJ. I want to know a little bit more about your history with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. For those who don't know what BJJ stands for, you know what BJJ stands for. But
Just in
for
case,
those,
just in case.
just in case you're not aware, so your history with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think most people are surprised to find out that I actually started training jujitsu after I started training to become a professional wrestler. So not long after, maybe about 6, 8, 9 months afterwards. And I had dabbled in it a little bit before, done free trial classes here and there as a broke high school student, and couldn't really afford to, do those classes. But I had started working at a gym that offered Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and like I said, then I kind of dabbled in it, but I really found my home at Mongrel Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because they had a really strong women's program and a lot of women who did Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I believe that's really important for any female kind of starting a combat martial art, just because it can be intimidating, just kind of like going into the weight room for the first time, especially as a female. It's kind of, overridden by, all of these, muscled up, guys and everything. Again, just like professional wrestling. And I found my home there, and those are some of my best friends, and I just wanted to train all the time. And last May got my blue belt, and that was really special and important to me because I'm like, okay, awesome, I finally have some color around my waist. I still feel like I know nothing, but I have some color around my waist. So at least I know nothing, but I'm a belt higher. So, but it's just a ton of fun. Again, those girls are my sisters. They're all my teammates. They're my family. They're my pack. Mongrels. We kind of roll together as packs. So anything that I have an issue with, I mean, those are my girls. I go to them all the time. But as far as jujitsu, it really is the gentle art. We kind of call it folding clothes with people in them. So if you can kind of imagine that, I just really think there's something beautiful and special, and I might be masochistic for saying that, but beautiful and special for just being able to, it's all about control, right? So yes, I could, cut off the blood flow to your brain. Yes, I could break your elbow. Yes, I could break your ankle, but I'm exercising control and deciding not to, or deciding, how fast or slow that I want to put this hold on. And it builds trust. I have to be able to trust my teammates that I come in the gym. Hey, I did break my ankle, so hey, my ankle's bothering me. Can we stay away from heel hooks or ankle locks or something like that? Yeah, man, for sure. We can just do from the waist up. Yeah, absolutely. So there's really that bond and that trust there that you kind of really don't get with anything else. It's, again, analogous to wrestling. I'm trusting you with my body.
Yeah, and that is really true. And but to touch on something too, because obviously you're very active and very much an athlete. Is this true that you actually also have a background in ultimate frisbee?
Yes. So that is probably the best sport that you've never heard of. And I will wholeheartedly say that for the rest of my life. I started playing ultimate frisbee as a junior in high school. And I remember sitting in my biomedical engineering class in high school. And I had kind of finished up playing basketball. I played for 10 years. I didn't really know what sport I wanted to do. I knew I needed to stay active. I knew I needed to do something. And I remember the coach and one of the captains for the ultimate team coming by, and I remember them whispering in the doorway, and they were looking for people who are athletic. And I'm like, hello, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm right here. Like, who else do you need? And so they finally called me over, and they were kind of explaining what it was. And they were like, hey, like, all you need are some running shoes, and that's it. I said, okay. And then I went out to a practice and proceeded to be probably like one of the worst players. Like, I could run really fast, I could jump really high, but the hand-eye coordination with the disc, it was just not there. And I just kept showing up, and I grew to love it. And I played in college, and that's unfortunately how I got my first like major injury. It's how I tore my ACL. I was in one of probably the best tournaments I'd ever played in my career, and I was on defense, and my offender cut in to receive the disc from one of her teammates. I was playing defense, so I was chasing after her. We both jumped for the disc, and when we landed, she ran into the outside of my left knee, and it popped inward. And immediately I knew that I had torn it, and it sucks because about 2 months prior to that, I'd taken my mom to one of the local wrestling training facilities that was in my area, about 15 minutes from my house, and I was gonna start training to become a wrestler at 20 years old. So unfortunately, that got derailed about 2 years. So it took me 2 years to come back, dealing with patellar tendonitis and things like that, and doing things that I probably had no business doing, and trying to rush the rehab. But that's why I'm so passionate about things like exercise science and making sure that athletes, especially ultimate frisbee athletes or especially female athletes, have the tools that they need, especially in high school and college, in order to get themselves stronger, to have access to strength and conditioning coaches, because that's something that ultimate does not have, because it's not a division sport. It's just a club sport. So they don't have access to weight rooms and strength coaches and things like that. So they're kind of on their own. And so unfortunately, you see a higher prevalence of injury with, ultimate athletes or someone like a soccer player or basketball player, especially women, just because of, kind of how our bodies are built. And I'm a nerd, and I could go on forever about things like this. But yes, I played ultimate, for 6 years, and it was the best time of my life.
Hell yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. And I learned a little bit more about ultimate frisbee in the process.
Yes, try it
You and me
out,
both.
please. Yes, please try it out.
I think I'd have to like maybe lose, I don't know, like 20 of the 30 pounds I gained over the last year just sitting at home.
Absolutely
But
absolutely not. I'll bring a disc in a couple weeks. We'll throw around. I'll show you how to throw.
that's right, because we're both about to be in Chicago coming up here in just a few weeks. So,
Yep.
hey, I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about family. You brought up your mom there, and your wife is currently in the military serving overseas, correct?
Yeah. So she was in Iraq. She just got back in June, but she was in Iraq for about 6 months. So she's been in the Army National Guard for about 10 or 11 years. So we've been together for 5. So she's had various deployments, activations, mobilizations, and things like that. So I've been the de facto single mom when she's been on these deployments and things like that. So just been very interesting for me to go from someone who didn't have a child to, hey, you're mom, and then now you're a single mom. So it's been interesting, a life lesson for sure.
It's, son or daughter?
Oh, son. Yep. He'll
Son.
be
How
10.
old? Okay,
So he's
10.
9 now. Yep. He'll be 10 in October.
Dang.
That going into 5th grade?
So he'll be going into 4th because the whole
4th.
birth
Okay.
thing. And,
Right, because October. Yeah. I should know that I'm an October kid. But because that's when that cutoff is, right? Where all of a sudden you're either the oldest in your class, or if you were born in September, you're the youngest, right?
You're super young. Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Just kind of squeaking in there.
Yep.
But obviously, like, family is such a crucial thing. So how has it been? I mean, the whole concept of it takes a village sort of thing, where you can find some balance with how busy you've been lately.
Yeah. So again, I attribute that to my friends and family. There would be no way I would be able to do all this traveling that I do without them. My mother and a ton of my teammates and a ton of our friends and everything have been super supportive and helpful. My wife left in December and got back in June. So that was, oh God, 7 months or so that she was gone. And out of those 7 months, from about middle of January to the end of April, I was booked every single weekend. And out of those times, I think there were like 2 times that people just weren't able to watch him. And again, 2 times out of however many weeks that is, I can't complain. That's
Mhm.
really effing good. And so I am indebted to them. So when I say that I have to make it in this business, I mean, it's not just for 12-year-old me. It's not just for my family, but it's for every single person who has helped me with my son, or just coming over, making sure my dog did not get into the refrigerator, making sure that my cats did not terrorize him. Every single thing, every little thing, just, helping out. It's for them as well.
Yeah,
That's
that really,
amazing. Yeah, no,
man.
honestly, that I love the village mentality when it comes to raising kids, because I know that, personally, I didn't have it wasn't just one person who had all that influence on me. It was the entire environment, and when you know everybody in that environment, it's just always such a really cool thing.
Uh,
And especially when, yeah, you also are a budding star in yourself, and you have all of that support around you. That's such a cool thing to me.
yeah, I couldn't do it without them. Honestly, you would see a little 10-year-old being toted around behind me with his phone and his Chromebook like every weekend, which is not super bad, but I try not to burden him a ton with all the travel.
I will say though, at the first WWA taping where we partnered with WWR Plus, you were on WWR Plus, and your son did kind of tag along, so it was nice to see him and be like, oh, okay, okay. I feel like he was very zoned into your match, but everything else he was kind of like, okay, I got my thing.
Yeah,
Got my
he.
thing.
I,
That's
I
okay.
always ask him. I'm like, hey, like, what was your favorite match or whatever? And he'll say my match. I'm like, okay, well, yes, thank you. Like, okay, well, did you see anybody else's match? Because I'm like Trish is on the show, Janai is on the show, like people that I love and I look up to, and he's just like, no, I didn't watch. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for watching my match. And he's just, back on his phone. So, normal 9-year-old, 10-year-old kid, which is fine.
He knew the right answer though. He was trying to get some points. He knew that he
That
had to watch your match. So there you go.
that
Yeah.
part. So yes, I will add a little bit more time to your phone usage. That's fine.
See, it all works out. But speaking of the most recent taping that we had in Chicago, I want to focus a little bit on your unique style, because you have a very unique style both when it comes to in the ring as well as out. Because I saw you the first day of the tapings in this gorgeous like ox blood suit. Like how do you describe your style, and kind of what inspirations do you look to, or if any, or do you just wear what you like?
Yeah. So I mean, outside of the ring, it took me probably until I graduated college, so 2015. So that was the year that I started training to become a pro wrestler, to be really comfortable as myself. Like, so that was the last time I wore a dress, was my college graduation. And I did it for my mother and my family, and my mother's very supportive, so I'm not trying to say that, but I felt like I had to please everyone else and not be myself. And also, if I would go shopping in like the men's section or something, I felt very self-conscious. Even from a young age, I would tell my mom, be like, hey mom, like, can you like just make it known that I'm like shopping for my brother and not myself? And so it was just very hard from an early age. And just like a switch click, or yeah, a switch kind of turned. And when I graduated college, and that's when I cut my hair too. My hair was about shoulder length. I cut my hair and I just kind of came into my own, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, I'm gonna wear these suits that make me feel very comfortable. Like, I want to be a Calvin Klein GQ model. Like, that's kind of the vibe that I'm going for. Like, as far as like my style outside of the ring and everything, when I get the chance to wear real clothes, I feel like I'm wearing athletic clothes all the time. So but yeah, when I get to wear real clothes, like, that's kind of the vibe and the style that I'm going for.
Well done.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, it's so unique. It's so dope, and it's something special in pro wrestling that we don't get to see that often. So I think it's gonna take you really far personally. But I wanted to talk about your WWA debut, because you pushed the Mission Pro champion Holiday to the limit, and afterwards we saw a show of respect. Holiday extending her hand. What did that mean to you?
Them in a lot. Holodead is someone that I obviously look up to. We've been on a ton of shows together, just never in the same ring together at the same time. So it was dope to be able to share that ring and that experience with her. She definitely pushed me. Not gonna say, yeah, she definitely pushed me. And one of my favorite matches that I've had this year so far of my career so far, I really enjoy being able to get into the ring with people that are better than me. Unfortunately, where I live in Virginia, it's very much big fish in a small pond. And that's just kind of how the cookies crumbled. And so it's very exciting for me when I'm able to get out to these places like WWA or Beyond or WWR or something like that. And I'm tested and I'm pushed. And that's always what I've wanted. Been an athlete since I was 6 years old. I've never wanted it easy. And Holodead is someone for me. She is like the LeBron, the Kobe, kind of women's wrestling and especially of WWE. She's the Mission Pro Wrestling the Mission Pro Wrestling champion for a reason, and incredibly honored to be able to share the ring with her.
And I definitely feel like, though, over the course of your career so far, I don't feel like you've had any like easy matches. Everything is pretty rough and tumble, pretty hard hitting when Jordan Blade is involved. Yeah. But I'm very curious because I know a lot of newer fans that may have just been seeing you for the first time. WWA may have been their introduction to you as a competitor. Are there particular matches or a particular opponent, and maybe it is Holodead, but over the course of your career, maybe not just limited to WWA, matches that show who Jordan Blade is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So my match with Willow Nightingale first comes to mind at WWR. Oh my goodness. Hit 'em up style that, again, I got to put him over, that my tag team partner, Ela Neal, came up with the name for that one. So
yes, he did.
Shout out to him. So that one comes to mind. I've wrestled Trish Adora 3 times. We wrestled, the last time we wrestled was on Beyond's Uncharted Territory in early November, I believe, or late October. Last year, and then subsequently mine and Eel's tag team match against Trish Adora and Shug D. Oh man, it was early November at one of Beyond's like super shows. I can't remember the name right now; it escapes me. Any of my matches with Janai Kai, all 6 of them. So I would wrestle Janai any day of the week. And then I've had a couple matches with Masha Slamovich that have been some of my favorites as well. So, I mean, all 4 of those competitors, I tout them all the time. I would get in the ring with them any day of the week. I love their style. Each brings something different to the table, and they just, it's something different that you typically don't see, and no shade to anyone else in wrestling, but you don't see. Trish is something special, Janai is something special, Masha is just soaring right now, Willow is just making the rounds right now, and my goal is to get to their level.
You're very well on your way.
Trying.
I know you've had a phenomenal year thus far. So what are your goals? Let's see, we're 8 months in right now, a little or close to 8 months in. What are your goals for the rest of 2022 going into 2023?
Oh man. So overall, just debuting in more promotions. So trying to get out to the West Coast is a huge goal of mine. Trying to get out to the Midwest more often is a huge goal of mine. Paradigm Pro Wrestling has been very great to me in getting me out there as far as the Midwest goes, getting down to Texas more, more stuff with Mission Pro. And then, trying to, try my hand in, Impact or, Ring of Honor or, something like that. And I remember saying last year that I wanted the kind of year that Masha Slamovich has. And again, she's someone I look up to a ton in this business just because, again, her style, her intensity, I that's how I want to emulate myself. And I know everyone all the time is like, there's only one Jordan Blade, and that's true. But I take bits and pieces from different people and kind of put them into myself, and that helps make who I am. Like, obviously there's wrestlers of the past that I take and try to, mold into who I am today. But I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't, have inspirations of people on the independent wrestling scene or even in WWE, AEW today.
Well, fair enough. But I have to say, we are so incredibly happy to have you as part of WWA. And I'm very curious to know, what does it mean to you to be part of Women's Wrestling Army?
Women's Wrestling Army is something special. And I think you can feel that, or not think, I know you can feel that in the locker room, in the ring with the fans. And you can tell that like a movement is growing. Like there's something like rumbling under there, and you can tell like it's just like, if not already, like it's going to break through. And I'm incredibly lucky to be on this journey with, all of my peers, with Maria, with Bobby, with Coach Danger, which is super surreal. I absolutely love that. And it means a ton. It means a ton to be able to be included in something like this and to be able to be my authentic self. I remember a couple years ago when I wanted to like wear something that just like wasn't me, because I thought that was going to be something that was going to get me noticed, was wearing something like skimpy or something like that. Again, no shade to people who do. That just wasn't me. And to know that Maria and Bobby and Coach Danger believe in me as Jordan Blade, that's special, and you can't put a price tag on that.
That's amazing. And what's your hope for the future of Women's Wrestling Army?
Man, that we continue to grow. We have something special. We have some of the best women's wrestlers, I think, in the world, and are only going to get better, especially with, different types of people that, we're able to bring in and work with. But yeah, growth is the number one thing. Growth and diversity. I guess 1 and 2. Thanks.
Both, I think, incredibly important, and we're so glad to be able to, be part of that. And to kind of sum things up, we were talking about things that you're looking forward to in the coming year and appearing new places. So we want to know, what's next for you? Where are you going to be? Where can people find you?
Phew, man. Got a packed weekend coming up. I will be at Black Girl Magic this Friday in Brooklyn, wrestling Bonesaw Brooks' first time ever meeting. I'm super stoked in a pure rules match. So I'm salivating at that one. Y'all know that's my wheelhouse. That is my wheelhouse right there. I'll be at Jobber Slam this Saturday as well, challenging for the newly Battleweight Championship in a gauntlet match with, I think there's 12 competitors total in the match. So one of my, and Cosmic is one of the competitors in that match that you've seen on Women's Wrestling Army. Joseph A. Game is also going to be in there, someone who, to keep your eye on. And then I will be at Black Wrestlers Matter. I believe that is Friday, September 2nd, if I got the date right. So I will be,
yes.
I will be in Chicago that weekend. Really excited to be back in Chicago for that weekend. And then have awesome stuff coming up soon for Women's Wrestling Army, of course. And then just keep it locked on my social media for matches and shows that have yet to be announced that I have to keep. I'm so sorry that I have to keep under wraps for right now.
Fair enough. And honestly, Jordan, just thank you for being unapologetically you, and thank you for bringing that you to WWA and to everywhere that you touch. You're an incredibly special competitor, and we're glad to have you here.
Oh, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, seriously, Jordan, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of Beyond the Bells, and thank you for being a part of Women's Wrestling Army. It's been amazing having you here.
Thank you so much, guys.
We'll see you very soon, my friend.
Have a good one.
I love Jordan Blade.
So do I. And she's just, her energy is just so amazing. It's so infectious, and it's just so great getting to talk with her. And again, she's just so authentic. And I think she is going to be just such a force in the future of Women's Wrestling Army.
Yeah, definitely has, I think, that mindset of just a kind of hustle that doesn't quit. And I think that that'll continue to propel her throughout her career. So love to see it. Another thing that we love is for our friends at home to be following Women's Wrestling Army on all the socials to catch new episodes on Pro Wrestling TV, or become a subscriber for early access and to get exclusive content over at womenswrestlingarmy.com. You get to see those episodes before anybody else, which is very special.
And if you want to see us live, our next tapings are on September 9th and 10th, called Anywhere World. Stay tuned to all socials for talent updates, match announcements, and how to get your tickets when they become available.
Absolutely. So we can't wait for you to, keep using the hashtag, keep interacting with us, telling us how you're enjoying these new episodes, and we'll see you very soon in September. Woo! For Will Washington, I'm Alyssa Marino, and we'll also see you on the next episode of Beyond the Bells.